The Dark Knight has been on the trail of the Asenma killer, but when this literally bloodthirsty villain is unmasked, will Bruce Wayne be able to deal with the revelations? Well, let's hop into the pages of Detective Comics 1096 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, picking up directly from where the last issue left off, Bruce had come to arrest Scarlet Scott, former family friend who he believed was actually the new supervillain serial killer known as Asenma, targeting young male criminals in Gotham, harvesting their blood and using it to help the ultra-rich turn back the clock on their aging. Only here's the thing, when Batman showed up to arrest Scarlet, she ended up coming under attack and her building burnt down by a mysterious group calling themselves Elixir. If nothing else, Bruce can finally cross her name off his list of suspects. She didn't know that Joe Chill was actually secretly her father, and she clearly didn't know what the real Asenma killer was up to. Which, considering that these two have already slept together, it probably feels really good to be Bruce right about now. Of course, the question then becomes, if Scarlet isn't Asenma, who the hell actually is? Well, it might very well be the woman who started the fire, Dr. Bridget Forrester. She's actually the last person currently stuck inside the building and the last person in the lab where the fire started, which, you don't need to be the world's greatest detective to riddle out that, yeah, she probably started it. Now, believe it or not, it's not just Scarlet Scott's company that's coming under attack right now. It seems that Elixir is trying to clean house across the board and get rid of anyone who might be able to tie them to any wrongdoings. This is why they sent their vampiric G-men, who we glimpsed a couple issues back, to the Faultless Detention Center to drain the last of their unwilling test subjects dry before officially skipping town. Thankfully, these guys end up coming up against the rest of the Bat family, who have mobilized to not only stop them but also take down this corrupt for-profit prison and save the kids. This is actually a great little moment too, as we have all of the assorted sidekicks doing the ass kicking here, which, when we stop and consider it, were it not for the positive force that Batman became in all of these young sidekicks' lives, there's a good chance that they very well could end up in a terrible prison like this. Now, hey, what exactly is the deal with Dr. Forrester? Well, it seems that Batman ran background checks on everyone who worked with Scarlet and came to the realization that the real Dr. Forrester died 10 years ago from malaria, meaning that this lady is a fake. Oh, but it gets so much better. You see, even through all the chemicals and smoke, Bruce can smell his mother's familiar perfume, meaning that Dr. Forrester is Asenma. But wait, there's more. Asenma is actually none other than Scarlet's mother, Evelyn, alive and well thanks to the same age-defying medicine that she's made billions off selling. Now, I don't want to say I told you so when I was right from the very beginning, but I totally called this all from the very beginning. Now, that being said, the last twist I didn't call at all. You see, Evelyn Scott actually caused the car accident that brought her and Joe Chill into the lives of the Waynes in the first place. She was actually trying to kill her abusive husband that day, and she would have gotten away with it too were it not for that meddling Thomas. A soft, weak man who couldn't do what was necessary and who in the end ended up costing not only his life but the life of his wife. A woman who Evelyn still very much worships like some sort of saint, so much to the point she's gone out of her way to kidnap Joe Chill and offer him up to Batman as some sort of sick and twisted peace offering. Yep, that's right everyone, this brings us all the way full circle back to the very first issue, complete with Asenma giving a very rehearsed sounding villainous speech. Don't you see, Batman, now it can finally be our time. We can put right what went wrong. We can kill the man who hurt us. We can finally be free. I am your mother's wrath. You are your mother's wrath. We can have our revenge. Of course, Batman's not having any of this. He says that Evelyn is wrong, that she is not his mother's wrath, but he is indeed her compassion, and that despite what she might be saying, Joe Chill never really took Thomas and Martha away from Bruce. Not really. They live on inside of him, in their lessons, in their morality, in their love. And they would only ever truly die if Bruce turned away from what they tried to teach him. In fact, we even get a nice little callback to that little speech Thomas gave Bruce in the first issue about how no one can know the true arc of a person's life, where they've been, where they're going, and what they might one day do. This is why Thomas spent the entirety of his life trying to save the sick, while Martha dedicated her life to trying to save the living. People like, well, Evelyn, who ended up spitting on everything that she tried to do for her, by giving in not only to anger and cruelty, but also to murder, killing young boys who reminded her too much of her dirtbag ex. Batman says that Joe Chill will be forced to live with everything he's done, and that the same goes for Evelyn. She's profited off pain for far too long, and it's time for all of it to stop. Naturally, Asenma vows to go down fighting, and in another nice little callback to earlier on in this arc, Batman manages to deflect the same hypodermic needle shot that Asenma used to take him down in their last fight. And with that, yeah, the day is saved. Asenma is finally unmasked, all the children at Fultus are let go, and Warden Slattery himself is going to be a prisoner himself sooner rather than later. Of course, the question still is, what will happen with Scarlet Scott now? Despite Batman's best effort, her entire world basically got torpedoed in just one day. She learned her father was famous dirtbag Joe Chill, and she learned that her mother just so happened to be a serial killer. Bruce takes pity on her, though, as she actually was telling the truth before about trying to actually slow Elixir from their evil deeds, while also protecting her mother, who again she didn't actually know was Asenma. Bruce once again tries to put his parents' teachings into actions. Not only does he firmly believe in justice, but he also believes in second chances. With Fultus gone, the city is going to need some new programs to help rehabilitate young offenders to make sure they don't become hardened recidivist criminals, and he thinks Scarlet Scott would be perfect to run this new initiative. After all, imagine how different the world would be if someone could possibly have gotten to Joe Chill at a young age and helped change the trajectory in his life. Oh, but wait, we're not done yet. Asenma may have been taken down and her company dissolved, but what about Elixir? Yeah, about that as the comic comes to a close. Evelyn is met in prison by Ambrose, that mysterious, seemingly immortal individual who was rubbing shoulders with Vandal Savage. He reads her the riot act, saying that Elixir still has a lot of work left to do when it comes to cleaning house. The organization has only thrived in the shadows by being secret, and these Asenma killings have unfortunately brought them out into the light. And the only way back is by killing lots and lots of people who know their secret. And so that was Detective Comics issue number 1096, everybody, and I gotta say, this probably ended up being my favorite mainline Batman arc I've read in a long time. Not just for what it does in terms of action and excitement and art quality, and don't get me wrong, all those things are great. I love this story for what it says and for what it does with the characters. This is an arc that really ended up being about Batman's relationship to crime and criminality, mainly that he hates crime as an abstract force, but he doesn't hate criminals implicitly. After all old offenders started as young offenders at some point, didn't they? They were root causes that pushed them into lives of criminality. No one wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I want to be a criminal, unless they're, well, insane, and Batman fights plenty of them too. But really what this was a story about is Batman's endless mercy and perspective. I mean, hell, he forgives Joe Chill again in this story, something that would be really hard for anyone to do, but it actually shows a very healthy side of Batman who has managed to move on, in many respects, from his parents' death, while also carrying with them all the good they did in life and how it affects him as a person. This is a Batman and a Bruce Wayne who truly understand the pursuit of justice, not revenge, justice. Justice is hard to do because it's restorative. It's about trying to make everyone and the world whole again after something bad, where revenge is all just about trying to make yourself selfishly feel better. And really, selfishness in the end is the key thing that separated Batman from Asenma. We've seen plenty of Batman fights his own dark mirror, is tempted to kill by a grimmer vigilante story before, but only in Tom Taylor's hands do I think that tried and true story has felt fresher here than it has in a long time. That's why, for all those reasons and more, I will actually end up giving this story a very well-deserved 10 out of 10. Feels like a long time since I've given one of those, but this one definitely deserves it. And it's because of that I cannot wait to see what Tom Taylor does in the next arc, especially as it seems like Elixir is going to be sticking around and being an overriding villainous force for the rest of this era. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.